It's a rainy Saturday after Thanksgiving in Lexington, Kentucky for the annual Governor's Cup between the Wildcats and the Louisville Cardinals. And the intensity is as high as ever for football. Kentucky, known for its thoroughbreds and big-time basketball. In recent generations, the Commonwealth is leaving its mark on the game of football. From youth football games to the annual rivalry between the Cards and the Cats.
Their emotions running high.
And look at this. Look at this.
No. It's fair to say Kentucky and Louisville do not like each other.
It's SEC Network College Football presented by Allstate. Kentucky running out, already bowl eligible for the fourth consecutive year. And here come the Louisville Cardinals, the biggest turnaround in Power 5 football from last year to this year. Happy 2 days after Thanksgiving with the College Football Hall of Famer Matt Stinchcomb and Alyssa Lang on the field. I'm Taylor Zarzer. Stinch, we have rivalry weekend. So many of these games, we're thinking about them going into this football Saturday. Kentucky and Louisville think about each other in every sport.
They really do. I mean, this is one of the few rivalries that expands well beyond just football. Obviously, basketball, a very prominent sport here in the state of Kentucky. But make no mistake, this is a heated rivalry. The 32nd meeting, and when you look at the fact that Kentucky's won 16, Louisville's won 15, a very tightly contested rivalry at that on the football field.
Yeah, and they've been playing it every year since 1994 after a 70-year hiatus, and the road team has won 4 consecutive games. So they like that 78-mile trek between campuses. Who are the key contributors today? First for the Louisville Cardinals.
Well, we can expect to see a lot of running. What is somewhat unique is the fact that you'll see quarterbacks involved, but Javian Hawkins for the Louisville Cardinals is a guy that has really come on, a freshman. He's third in the ACC in rushing yards. You see in the FBS rankings among the best. Ranks really, really highly, 115 yards per game. Highly, highly efficient runner.
For more on the Kentucky Wildcats and this weather, let's go down to Alyssa.
Yeah, guys, we know on both sides of the ball offensively, both of these teams have some weapons. For Louisville, it's wide receiver Tutu Atwell. He had a huge game last week. For Kentucky, it's their run game. The 3 running backs they call the three-headed monster. And then, of course, quarterback Lynn Bowden with the ball in his hands. The enemy for both teams today, though, the weather. It's been raining for the past several hours. It's supposed to continue raining. It's cold, about 41 degrees. But I talked to both head coaches before this game started. They said, hey, we played all season in the rain. We're not worried. It's rivalry week.
Alyssa gave me that rock eyebrow raise earlier today when she said I got to go up here. And
the people's eyebrow?
The people's eyebrow, I got it from her since we're in this beautiful television booth and she's down there braving the elements. Grant McInnes will kick to Hassan Hall, and this is one of the best kick returners in college football, but Hall watches it go over his head, and Mikhail Cunningham, who has been battling a stomach bug, will bring the Cardinals out on the football field to start this game today. Cunningham has thrown 9 touchdown passes in his last 2 games, and what's unique about this, Stinch, he's only thrown 24 completions, and he's got 9 touchdown passes.
How's that for efficiency? And it's why he ranks among the most household of names at the quarterback position, has really come on. And in talking with Scott Satterfield, has said that the mental element of his game, his understanding of what they're trying to do offensively, he has been excellent the last 4 outings.
You've enjoyed watching them on film, and they show this look a lot. Ford blocking in front of Hawkins, and Hawkins gets 7, maybe 8 yards on the first play from scrimmage. It'll be second and short. They're following that left tackle on that play, Mekhi Becton, as you see, one of the best in college football.
Just an enormous human being, but a great athlete as well. Number 7 ranked offensive tackle coming up in the upcoming draft. 6'7", 360-plus pounds, and can move.
Second and 2. Rain will be a factor all day. Toss ahead to Atwell. Tutu has enough for the first down, but he took a lick from Cash Daniel. It's first down for the Cardinals. That Kentucky defense, led by their captain, Cash Daniel, who's on the field for the final time as a Wildcat today. They've gotten a great job from Yusuf Corker in the secondary this season. He leads the team in tackles. Corker had a fumble recovery for a touchdown last week. First and 10 for Cunningham. He'll keep it himself. He's got no place to go. He'll lose yardage as Josh Paschal and Calvin Taylor chased him out in this wet weather.
That's what they're going to have to do defensively. Will Kentucky try to get penetration? This is a zone run offense with option concepts. A little bit of a wrinkle, but Louisville wants to try to get outside and stretch the defense laterally. How do you make that break down? Is with penetration. They'll need big Calvin Taylor, Quentin Bohanna, and others up front, TJ Carter, to try to get upfield quickly and make the running backs belly their run.
Cunningham with the pocket collapsing shows his athleticism. He is tripped up by Corker just shy of the first down. It'll be third and short.
Louisville has a difficult time protecting. That time, the pocket collapsing around Cunningham, and you see such a run-heavy offense, it makes sense. Cunningham contributing in the run offense as well. 250 rushing yards per game, third in the conference, and it's because they have multiple options in the backfield at all times. Now you see this is a full house. You have effectively 4 backs in the backfield, including Cunningham.
Martin and Ford blocking in front, and it's Hawkins with an easy first down run, running off of Wildcat, still on his feet, inside the 35, where Corker finally makes the tackle. That is a 23-yard gain for the redshirt freshman.
They just run straight downhill. And this is something they're worried about. A missed tackle by Cash Daniel, runs through another would-be tackler at the edge. That's that C button, the spin move. Defensive coordinator Brad White was worried about that very thing. Said Hawkins does a great job of breaking tackles, and he specifically mentioned his ability to spin out.
Yeah, something to prove on every run. Hawkins, again, won't get much here. He set a freshman single-game record stench last week with 233 yards rushing and a touchdown against the Syracuse Orange. In fact, that was the best rushing performance Louisville's had since Lamar Jackson, as you see at the bottom of that graphic, in the Music City Bowl 4 years ago.
Well, and Hawkins, as we mentioned off the top, he's going to have to be the drumbeat of the rushing attack. Cunningham can be a changeup, but we anticipate Cunningham maybe a little bit more abbreviated in this game. As you mentioned, feels a little bit under the weather, might not get as many QB design runs. We've already seen one scramble.
Second and 10. Beating Hawkins, and he's clothesline. Big Bo. Quentin Bohanna says no.
And they're trying to run the stretch outside zone into the boundary. And that's what Kentucky's going to have to do. Get penetration and run it down from the backside. At the point of attack, Louisville had it well blocked, but Bohanna showing that athleticism. Big and strong. Satterfield was concerned about this as well as a play caller. The size of Kentucky inside, already 2 tackles for loss.
You're wondering, too, if this is 4-down territory for the Cardinals. They haven't made a field goal since Blanton Creaky season-ending injury in October. Got to get to the 23 for a first down. Cunningham, no chance as he is stoned by DeAndre Square at the 33-yard line. It's 4th down.
That's not a scramble. That was a QB design run. They were trying to get separation right there in the middle, open up the A-gaps. DeAndre Square, who didn't play last week versus UT Martin, was a little bit nicked up, left the game versus Vanderbilt. He has really emerged at linebacker for this Kentucky defense. And as you mentioned, Taylor, 4-down territory for the Cardinals.
Cards are 12 of 19 on 4th down this year. Kentucky's one of the best 4th down defenses in America. They've only given up 3 conversions on this play.
And if we see it, Tutu Atwell right there in the slot. He is their most targeted receiver.
He's looking that way. He'll throw the ball to the end zone. Caught! That's Atwell. Touchdown! He
can't get enough touches to number 1. He already caught one on a fly sweep. He turned around on that ball twice, but they got the matchup they wanted. DeAndre Square was over the slot, but he was a box player. And Yusuf Corker, the safety, ended up in coverage. And if they can get Atwell matched up versus safeties, that's a winner all game long.
Ryan Chalafu he misses the extra point, 6-0. Again, kicking a big problem for this team. Atwell's 33-yard touchdown ties a single-season school record. That's his 12th on the season, and he leads the Atlantic Coast Conference in touchdown catches. Tutu Atwell leads the ACC now with 12 touchdown catches on the year. I'm not so sure that Mikhail Cunningham was trying to throw that ball to him, but he was there for the catch. 9 plays, 75 yards for Scott Satterfield's team. What a turnaround for this first-year coach from Appalachian State. Coached there for 6 years and inherited a roster. He said, I knew nothing about these guys. We had to build so much trust with each other in the offseason. Boy, has he done it from 2-10 to 7-4, 0-8 in the ACC stitch to 5-3.
You can't say enough about it. Both these coaching staffs and the jobs that they've done, and obviously Louisville's turnaround, having been winless in the ACC a season ago, only the second time in conference history where they've seen this type of turnaround.
James Turner kicking a wet football and having trouble with it, goes out of bounds. And again, Blanton Creaky was the field goal kicker and kickoff man.
Kick out of bounds, kicking team. The ball he plays at 35-yard line, first down.
Well, Lynn Bowden and the Wildcats come out on the field trailing 6-0. Lynn from Stoops Country, Youngstown, Ohio. His son, Lynn III, was born 2 years ago and has changed this young man's life for the better. He's just infatuated with LB3, as he calls him. And now his 2-year-old son gets to watch Dad play some quarterback. Bowden is arguably the best all-purpose player in college football. He is a finalist for the Paul Hornung Award this year, and now you see why. On the first play, it's a first down run for Bowden into Cardinals territory.
Finalist, you should just go ahead and etch that Paul Hornung trophy for Lynn Bowden Jr. As you see his production and size, 206 pounds, but his lower body is incredibly strong. You can see it as a receiver, the yards after the catch, but you look his career and the way he's embellishing upon that productivity this year as a quarterback. He's 7th in the SEC in rushing yards per game with almost 86.
He has Rodriguez and Cavassier Smoke with him on the backfield, and it looked like the Cardinals were off sides, and the handoff goes to Rodriguez, and they'll decline this penalty because Baby Benny, as they call Rodriguez, runs inside the 30-yard line. Today's crew is from the Atlantic Coast Conference. Our referee is Jeff McConaughey.
Well, Kentucky is excellent at drawing defensive fronts off sides. We've seen it all season long. A couple of weeks ago, Vanderbilt jumping all over the line of scrimmage. They got a free play there. And as you mentioned, the run far exceeding the free 5 yards that they'd already established with the encroachment.
Offside. Defense number 94 in the neutral zone at the snap. That penalty's declined. After the play is over, personal foul. Defense number 55. Unnecessary roughness. 15-yard penalty, first down.
Well, it can't be number 55. They gave us the wrong number, but we'll see.
The unnecessary roughness foul will be half the distance to the goal, first down.
End of the play. We had a flag call, but again, the officials got the number incorrect. So Louisville committing that personal foul. It's inside the 15-yard line. Gives the Cats the ball at the Cards 14. A.J. Rose is in the backfield with Bowden. It's Ahmad Wagner at the bottom of the screen. Bowden keeps talking to. Bowden breaking tackles is down to the 10-yard line. It's a pickup of 4. Bowden has been such a huge part of the offense. They run the football 81% of the time since he's become the quarterback.
Yeah, we talk about Louisville wanting to run the football. We've already seen an explosive pass play from the Cardinals. Kentucky keeps it on the ground, and they're still explosive. You see the 252 yards a game on the ground, knowing that there's not much of a passing threat.
And in 5 of those 6, Bowden's gone over 100. He had 99 against Georgia in the one game he didn't get over 100.
They got 40 rushing yards already on this drive.
On the 2nd and 6, this is Rose, and he dives ahead inside the 8. So it's going to be 3rd and short for the Cats. Midway through the first, this rain is expected to stay in the forecast all day long. Started pouring early this morning, and it is a massive front that is taking up the entire Commonwealth of Kentucky today.
You see on this 3rd down, they substitute Cleveland Thomas out and send in Justin Riggs, another tight end. We mentioned Kentucky just does not throw the football, and on 3rd down, they can easily keep this ball on the ground and play 4-down territory. They have difficulties with place kicking even from this distance.
Get a first if they get to the 4. Bowden has to make it there. He does. And it'll be 1st and goal for the Cats. You see that side judge come right in at the yellow line.
They ran right behind Riggs and A.J. Rose. They became the lead blockers. You pull their right guard around. A nice job by Luke Fortner to lead in there, and you see the strength and lower body of Lynn Bowden Jr. 1st down, a fresh set for Kentucky. They're so active along that Kentucky offensive line. It's an interesting contrast to Louisville. Louisville never pulls anybody. It's all zone blocking schemes. For Kentucky, they're pulling linemen on almost every snap.
Bowden completed 1 pass last week in the win against UT Martin. We have movement early on this one.
Prior to the foul, timeout, Kentucky.
Got lucky to call that timeout before the penalty. Little chippy early in the Governor's Cup. Thank you, Peter Burns. Chris Doring, Gene Chizik will join you there in the studio at halftime. I know Doring's a big Eddie Gran guy. It's kind of ironic, too, given that Gran runs and runs and runs the football on every play. 5 runs on this drive, and the Cats now have it 1st and goal at the Louisville 4. A.J. Rose, straight ahead, touchdown. Just too easy, right at the heart of that Cardinals defense.
Gave Louisville some of their own medicine. It's just a zone run. That time, though, A.J. Rose is hitting that thing straight downhill. Right there where his center would have started, and Drake Jackson, an excellent job by that Kentucky offensive front asserting itself.
This is Matt Ruffalo. They've gone back and forth with Chance Poore and Ruffalo. And Ruffalo, through the smoke, gives the Cats the lead, 7-6. Rose was benched 2 weeks ago because of fumbles. Boy, has he bounced back. Cats on top of the cards.
SEC Network Football is presented by Allstate, reminding you that football season is mayhem.
Lamar put on a clinic 2 years ago in the Governor's Cup. 216 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, ran for 156. Cards scored on their first 8 possessions, won 44-17, and nothing's changed. Now he's doing that in the National Football League on a week-by-week basis. Hottest player in the game.
Pretty good for a receiver.
Hall bobbled it a bit at the 2. Son has some speed, but nice open field tackle is made by Quandre Mosley. And Louisville starts inside its own 15. Lamar throwing 5 touchdown passes against the Rams as they just embarrass them on Monday Night Football. The Unibrow, how about the Lakers? They're 17-2. He had 41 against the Pelicans. And Roy Williams went past the legendary Adolph Rupp yesterday in the battle for Atlantis. He's now 5th all-time in wins, and he's 2 to tie his mentor, Dean Smith. They give Louisville the 15-yard line. Tutu Atwell was in the backfield on that play, and they faked it to him and threw a completion instead to Des Fitzpatrick, who might have been the intended target, Stinch, on that touchdown.
Yeah, but instead it ended up going to Atwell. Of course, not a bad secondary target in Fitzpatrick, but you could see the respect that Tutu Atwell has got of the Kentucky defense, the entirety of their core, defensive line, linebackers, all running with the play fake.
Cunningham in the backfield with Atwell in motion, hands it to Hawkins. Hawkins is bottled up. He'll lose yardage. It's second down. Let's go to Alyssa.
Yes, since you mentioned the respect that Kentucky has for wide receiver Tutu Atwell, well, Brad White on the sidelines moments ago was stressing defending the deep ball, especially on fourth down, saying they're going to be in four verts. You have to anticipate that deep ball. They got to keep their eye on Tutu.
Well, you got to consider, too, the circumstances, right? That's a fourth down play. Are you thinking conversion? No. Louisville was thinking touchdown, and they got it. Caught Kentucky on their heels.
Cunningham, design quarterback run. Look at this kid fly. First down run as he puts his shoulder into that Kentucky defense for 14 yards.
And at that time, you got a free runner. Cash Daniel, the captain of the defense. He's got a shot at Mikael Cunningham. Watch this. Runs right through that arm tackle. That's a couple of missed tackles in the middle of the Kentucky front. They're going to have to tackle much better than that versus a run offense of Louisville. They're going to get downhill if they can. They had a lot of success there.
A low snap. Cunningham, when he throws, he completes it. And this one again goes inside the 40 down to the 36. That's Seth Dawkins. Now he dropped that football at the end of the play.
He should have had this catch. Drops it late. Brandon Eccles with the contact was just enough to keep Dawkins from coming up with it. As you mentioned it, Mikael Cunningham, when he cuts loose, he completes balls for big plays. He had another target open and an opportunity, and a good job by Eccles of forcing the drop pass.
Back to the ground, and it's back to Hawkins. And Hawkins runs up near midfield, about a half a yard shy of the first down.
It's the second time.
They do give him actually the first down there, Stinch.
Yeah, and they had success out of that formation earlier, where they were able to rip off that 20-plus yarder on a third down. And what you're seeing right now, Louisville having difficulty getting to the edges. They're trying to stretch it, trying to get to the edge of the defense. Kentucky's getting penetration. The two big runs that the Cardinals have been downhill, right at the heart of this Kentucky front, which is contrary to even what the Cardinals thought they would have success doing.
Hawkins will try the left side, and Square will tackle him to the ground at the 47-yard line. Louisville ran for 370 yards versus Syracuse last week, averaging 9 yards a carry. And you think of what Hawkins and Louisville have done this year, Stinch. They're rushing for more than 70 yards more per game than they did last year.
To the fact that you could just reinvigorate that element of an offense, it's not the easiest thing to do, especially when they're somewhat committed to that single philosophy, the zone philosophy of zone blocking. It takes repetition. You can tell that Javian Hawkins, though, has gotten those reps.
2nd and 6, just open field inside the 20 as he spins back. A flag does come in as he's finally tackled in the red zone. Maybe there was a reason for that wide open space.
Holding. Offense number 66. 10-yard penalty, second down.
It's the center, Cole Bentley.
Yeah, he had a jersey full. Calvin Taylor, it looks like. So watch, it starts in the middle, but he ends up right here on Calvin Taylor. Taylor's going to try to stretch down the line of scrimmage. And you see him right there? Not much, but it was just enough. Flag comes in late. They're able to capture the edge, and Bentley saying, oh, well, I turned loose at the guy.
Does it help when you plead your case? Because Taylor's arms immediately went in the air.
Hey, look, I swear the defensive linemen, they spend half their time over there in individual drills practicing calling for holding calls. And it works. The worst thing you can do as an O lineman is to throw your hands up like you did nothing. The best thing you can do as a D lineman is flail your arms around like you're getting tackled.
Sounds like a left tackle that has some mental scars.
Number 73, 5-yard penalty, second down.
Speaking of the left tackle, Mekhi Becton with an early start.
You can see, though, Louisville, when they run, where are they running? They're running left. Now, their attempts and even yardage, it's pretty even. But a lot of the runs back to the right are quarterback runs or fly sweeps to Tutu Atwell. When they run the football, a lot of times, especially when it's design runs to a running back, handoffs, it's behind that big left side and Mekhi Becton. Of course, Louisville digging a hole here.
Third flag on Louisville on this drive. Cunningham escapes the pressure, throwing on the run, and that is caught by Fitzpatrick. And Dez is up to the UK 46. It picks up 15 yards, now making it third and manageable.
That time, a great job by Cunningham, escaping the pressure to where he could make a positive yardage play. Boogie Watson had good pressure and was loose, but Cunningham lost even more yards and escaped contained and got just enough depth to where he could deliver a ball downfield to make it third and manageable.
Hassan Hall in the backfield with Cunningham on 3rd and 5. Under pressure, down he goes. Sacked by Boogie.
Louisville has a hard time in pass pro. Here's Watson. We mentioned him just a second ago. He captured the edge. Cunningham got loose. This time he's very short with his rush. Watch how tight he turns this corner. Cunningham's only about 6 yards deep right there. And Watson was able to get the edge almost immediately. Back-to-back pass rushes and the 4th tackle for loss for the Kentucky defense.
12 and a half career sacks now for the junior from Forestville, Maryland. As King has had an excellent year punting. This will roll inside the 10 as Ali watches it bounce back. Louisville trying to kick it forward without the official seeing it, but they don't get away with that. 47 yards as Watson makes the sack. Kentucky won 10 games last year, but Josh Allen and Benny Snell, the best to ever play on each side of the ball for the Cats, went on to the NFL. Terry Wilson, their quarterback, had a season-ending knee injury in Week 2 against Eastern Michigan. Sawyer Smith and the Cats had a heartbreaking loss to Florida and then a few weeks ago to Tennessee. But Lynn Bowden has taken over at quarterback, and he has taken the Cats to bowl eligibility for a 6th consecutive season. Got to give Eddie Gran, the offensive coordinator, and head coach Mark Stoops so much credit for getting this team to a winning season. Bowden runs it up to the 11. Let's check on clean, old-fashioned hate. Here's Peter Burns.
What a great name for it, right? Well, College Football Playoff Predictor has Georgia as a 50% chance to get into the playoff. That right there, my friends, is a no-doubter. Dogs up 10-0 after the Brian Harrion touchdown.
Just crazy, PB, to see Georgia Tech not running the triple option anymore. Did that forever with Paul Johnson, but Dogs in a different spot right now than the rebuilding Yellow Jackets. We have 4 ACC versus SEC matchups, including this one, as Bowden does not get it off before the quarter expires. So we go to the second. Louisville scoring on their first possession on a 4th down pass to Tutu Atwell, but Bowden and the Cats come marching back down the field. 7-6 at the end of one. Always so pumped to have the semifinal games and all the New Year's 6 games. Mark Stoops led his team to a New Year's Day game last year, beating Penn State in Orlando into 10 wins. He's now the 3rd winningest coach in UK history. And some movement on the first play from his offensive line on the first play of the second. That was Logan
Number
Stenberg.
71, 5-yard penalty, second down.
That's the second time for Logan Stenberg. Probably their best offensive lineman for Kentucky. They bought out of the last one, called a timeout right before it happened on their goal line possession a little bit early. And I think maybe look at Stenberg goes everybody. I think Drake Jackson, the center, just didn't snap the football. Everybody else is ready to go.
So backs Cats up to their own 7. Bowden goes to the ground, and that's Cavassier Smoke that gets past the 10 up near the 12. It's a pickup of 5. How about the job Mark Stoops has done this year, Stench? 6-5 is not an end-all, be-all kind of record, but when you have the kind of adversity that Kentucky's experienced this season, it could be 3 or 4 wins when you lose your quarterback.
And they were in, as we touched on earlier, at least 3 of the losses that they incurred are games they should have won. You're thinking of Florida and Tennessee, it easily could have been the second-best team in the East Division, even with their third-string, quote-unquote, quarterback in Lynn Bowden.
On a 3rd and 4, they always run, and Bowden again moves the chains up near the 23, maybe the 24-yard line. It's a pickup of 12, as Bowden says, we're going that way.
It's just a power run. And Lynn Bowden has proven to be their best option, at least their most frequent option when they needed that 3rd down conversions. They leave the ball in their quarterback's hands, ran behind their left guard, Logan Stenberg. A unique formation, quads, 4 receivers to the top of your screen, all to the left.
And once again, it's just eye candy. As Smoke finds a hole the other side of the field. Past midfield, it's a foot race. Cavassier cuts it back to the middle. Inside the 5.
Well, Alyssa touched on it at the open. It's a 3-headed monster. Well, Cavassier Smoke, very patient, allowed that second-level defense to suck into the line of scrimmage and then bounces to the perimeter. They ran the ball opposite of the 4 wide receivers. You pull all those second-level defenders to one side of the field, and then you run into the boundary.
That's the longest play of the season, 70 yards for Smoke. And we have all kinds of shuffling going on. This is A.J. Rose standing over the football, and Louisville's going to call timeout. Bowden was at the top of the screen as a wide receiver. Actually, Kentucky will call the timeout as they were a bit confused after the big play from Cavassier Smoke.
Yeah, you know, I was so enamored with all these guys up here at the top of the screen. But watch what Lynn Bowden does after he makes this handoff. So he holds the defender weak just long enough. Then he realizes, look, there he is. But forget it. I'm going to get downfield and help my man Cavassier Smoke out. Look at the speed, right? So he plays receiver, plays quarterback. He's not scared to try to block. Good that we kind of cut that short. Didn't really block anybody, but E for effort right there.
Question. I mean, what other quarterback in the game would you see do something like that? 1st and goal outside the 5. 10 plays, 10 runs, and another touchdown. With that rushing touchdown, Bowden goes over 1,000 rushing yards on the season.
We've been talking about Eddie Gran as an offensive coordinator and a play caller. How about their ability to move a receiver to quarterback and Lynn Bowden's ability to make that adaptation? He hasn't played quarterback since high school. And he's carving up defenses as a runner from the quarterback spot.
Ruffalo makes it 14-6. It was Cavassier Smoke with the 70-yard run to put the Cats on the doorstep. And after doing some blocking, Bowden says, give me the football. Cats on top. More college football rivalry games later today at 4 Eastern from Knoxville. It's Vandy facing Tennessee. And at 7:30 Eastern, it's our SEC Saturday night matchup from the Swamp as number 11 Florida hosts Florida State. Both games available on the SEC Network and the ESPN app. Vandy has controlled this series in recent years, winning each of the last 3 meetings. What a turnaround for the Vols. At one point, we're 1-4. Look for their 7th win. And the Gators try to cap off a 10-win season tonight in the Swamp. How about that open field hit as you hear pads popping as Maurice Berkeley takes it near the 30. Let's get another studio update from Peter Burns.
Czar, 2 weeks in a row. Georgia's going to be playing Atlanta. Of course, they'll face LSU in the SEC championship game. How about Charlie Warner? First career touchdown from Jake Fromm. Dogs making Stinch look easy right now. 17-0. And Ohio State had a touchdown, but 3 plays later, Shea Patterson to Donovan Peoples-Jones. 14-13 in the game out of Ann Arbor.
Got a good one for between Ohio State and Michigan there. Here it's 14-6 with Louisville and Cunningham going back to the ground, and Hawkins will get a couple. So he's tackled by Abuli Abadi Fitzgerald.
Look at this block. That's a clean block. Definitely within the field of vision of the coverage unit. It wasn't from behind to the side where they couldn't have seen or protected themselves. You see that a lot. Coverage guys focused on the returner, doesn't see that blocker coming. Serious contact.
Justin Marshall was the man that delivered that hit as Hawkins goes back to the ground and doesn't get much. As Chris Oates, who missed last week due to a team violation, is back, making the tackle 3rd and 5.
And right now, the Kentucky front winning the line of scrimmage and changing the game for Louisville right now as a rushing offense. As we mentioned earlier, where Louisville had success was on the downhill runs, which was somewhat surprising. As they've tried to get lateral, Kentucky's done a great job of getting penetration.
Cunningham is deflected at the line of scrimmage. Looked like he was trying to pump fake, but that ball came loose. Calvin Taylor got a paw on it.
It's unsurprising that Calvin Taylor would get a pass breakup. That's a big man. Look how long number 91 is, and he does a great job. He doesn't have a ton of pass rush moves. He just collapses the pocket, keeps his legs running, came into the game, tied for 1st in sacks. It's pretty impressive because he's an effort player. He's not a guy that's going to win right now as a pass rusher. He just works his way to the quarterback.
First 3 and out for the Cardinals today. Mason King will punt for the 2nd time. This is a fake. Faking the punt, and he's shy of the first down marker. Is on the play. Louisville fakes it and can't get the first. Allen Daly, a backup wide receiver, was the man that made the tackle.
It's a strange formation to begin with. We see some exotic ones from punt teams, but look, here's the snapper. Everybody's lined up over here to the left of where the snap's going to happen, and then they just try to get over here on the edge. He fakes the kick. It's really well executed, actually. You know, it looks like from a fake standpoint, but a great job by the Kentucky punt return team to rally to that football. You know, the formation itself is the tip-off. What's about to happen? Because you do not see that. Clear that they weren't going to try to punt that football with everyone lined up pre-snap to the left of the snapper.
That was Trenell Troutman, a defensive back that was running, and Allen Daly, a wide receiver, tackling. Chris Rodriguez has no place to go. It's 2nd down. So you have a guy that typically plays defense running the football and a guy that typically plays offense making the tackle to prevent a first down.
Just be a football player, right? You see this a lot with guys as Allen Daly checks into the game as a receiver now. But a really aggressive choice by Coach Satterfield, 1-possession game on your side of the field to try to go for it right there on a fake punt.
Toss to Rodriguez. Chris hits the hole and cuts it back, but only gets a couple of yards. Gigi Robinson, that's a defensive lineman in the open field, showing off some speed.
That's a really impressive play for a nose tackle. Number 94, mentioned numerous times in our calls with the coaches, lined up over the center, and he makes it all the way out to the perimeter to make a fantastic tackle to make this 3rd and long. And even for Kentucky, they might have to consider throwing it here. As you see Lynn Bowden, you hear him easy. That's a fake.
This is the 14th play. It is the 14th run, and Rodriguez gets up to the 27-yard line. And now what do you do?
It was 4-down territory. As it looks like now they're going to try a field goal. They send out the unit, a little bit surprised with the adventures that they've had at place kicking, but what they were doing was trying to bluff Louisville into looking to the sideline. They didn't take the cheese. You can see both. He didn't quite sell it well enough.
He was jumping up and down, pleading his case. So Ruffalo is going to try a 45-yard field goal. He's 2 for 3 on the season. He did make a 50-yarder against Arkansas. He's got plenty of leg, and Stoops makes the right call. 17-6 Kentucky.
On the heels of an ill-fated fake punt attempt by Louisville, Kentucky didn't do much with it. They didn't have to. You mentioned Ruffalo able to punch it in there, and Coach Stoops on our call, he didn't know what he was going to do at place kicker. Ruffalo rewards his confidence, and Kentucky up 17-6 early.
So Kentucky gets 3 points off of Louisville's fake punt that did not work, and now Grant McKinnis will kick it back to Louisville. And Hassan Hall, inside the 10, dives ahead near the 30-yard line. Louisville scored on its first possession, has had to punt it away each of the last 2 times, and Kentucky is doing this defensively with Josh Allen, their terrific pass rusher, going to the Jacksonville Jaguars, a top 10 NFL pick, and a bunch of guys that are quality SEC players. But in talking to Brad White, he said, I don't know how many of them have big-time pro potential, Stinch, but they all play to the maximum of their ability at the collegiate level.
Yeah, we haven't seen any of these guys that are individual standouts, although the D-line's done a good job in this game so far.
Cunningham dancing around, and he's out of bounds after a pickup of 7. Maybe the best example of that is Calvin Taylor. Calvin is tied for the lead league in sacks with Alabama's Anthony Jennings with 7.5. This guy was a 0-star out of high school, and he has gone from somebody that developed, that was consistent, who's now dominant.
We saw on that earlier possession, just collapsed the pocket, gets his hands up, knew he wasn't going to get to Cunningham, and got that pass broken up.
On a 2nd and 3, right near the stick, goes Hall for a first down. Look at these Kentucky pass rushers that have gone on to the pros. Za'Darius Smith with 10 sacks this year. Josh Allen as a rookie has 8. And Bud Dupree, 7, another great season with the Stellars.
You look at the Stellars. Za'Darius Smith is the guy that was probably the least heralded coming out of Kentucky. In fact, undoubtedly so, has really worked his way into being an excellent pass rusher.
Cunningham loves to throw the deep ball into double coverage, intercepted. It hit 3 different people, and Jordan Griffin came up with the ball.
It bounced off of Cedric Dort, and I thought maybe that ball was going to find its way in there. Dort did just enough to break it up. Atwell had his hands on it. Jordan Griffin, a senior, was able to get over there and make this interception. Not something that Kentucky has done a lot of. This is the best pass defense statistically in the SEC. They keep a lot of plays in front of them, but Atwell was over the top that time. It took Griffin coming over from his safety position to get there. That's the problem I've seen with Cunningham, though, is that if they call a shot, he will take it, even if he shouldn't.
Griffin, the only experienced Kentucky defensive back that came back this season with that interception, his 3rd of his career. And to your point, only 1 play over 40 yards this year via the air. Louisville's the best in the country at hitting the big play, but Kentucky wins that battle. As you said, hitting a trio of players on that play. 2nd and 10 now after Bowdoin got nothing. They've run it all 15, make it all 16 times. They've run an offensive play, and Bowdoin stays on his feet to the 26-yard line.
Got that formation again. This time, though, ball was in the middle of the field. They ended up keeping it. Lynn Bowdoin with a nice read to pull it towards that 4 wide receiver side. You see, and Eddie Grant's one of those offensive coordinators and play callers. He'll junk you up. He'll send a bunch of personnel groupings, a bunch of different formations at you. He'll run like you have here, 3 eligibles into the boundary, just to see how you'll react defensively, to see if you can create a numbers advantage.
You would think Grand would stay on the ground, and he does on a 3rd and 2, and Bowdoin's extra effort, but it's going to be about a yard shy. Isaiah Hayes, defensive back for the Cardinals, coming up to help make that stop. Hayes is starting today for Russ East, who's out with an injury. There's Eddie Grand running the ball all 17 times he's called a play today. Boy, the job that he's done transforming this offense. We're calling it the Grand Emergency Plan. And it has yielded another bowl appearance. This guy might be the Ray Guy Award winner. Max Duffy is leading the country, and we thought we might see a fake today. He just about went up near the line to do it. Nobody runs as far up to the line of scrimmage as he does. That's a 47-yard punt. Duffy, he might have been able to hit the first down. He fakes out the Cards, and with another great kick in the elements in Lexington.
Chiz, Doring Birds coming up at half. We'll give you updates of Palmetto Bowl, clean old-fashioned hate, and preview the Iron Bowl. But what are you seeing in Lexington right now, Coach?
I see the Cats scoring 17 points, and they have not thrown for 1 yard, CD.
They're on their way to 400 yards rushing again.
Yes.
That's something that we've seen over and over again. Right now, Taylor and Stinch, more rain. We see a lot of that, too.
Looks like it really pleases Mr. Doring the way that Grand is calling this game, PB. And the defense, look at this. All over Hawkins. Jordan Wright first to the football. Wet and raining out there, and the officials trying to get some heat on those hands. And poor Alyssa, too, I'm sure, is trying to do her best to brave these elements. How's it going down there, Miss Lang?
Guys, it's pretty cold. I can tell you on both sides. When guys come off the field, they're looking for jackets and heaters.
2nd and 11, Hawkins. At the heart of that UK defense, which has stiffened the last couple of drives. It'll be 3rd and long as Quentin Bohanna makes another tackle.
Yusuf Corker coming in there as well. Both these defenses finding ways to get stops. Louisville defense did a great job of getting the ball back to their offense and forcing the punt. On the previous possession, forcing the field goal. But we've seen these 3rd and long scenarios for Louisville, not a comfort zone.
Feels like an important play, too, because Kentucky will get the football first in the 3rd quarter. 3rd and 9, Cunningham keeps drifting back, hits Hawkins, but Hawkins, with a flag coming in, stepped out of bounds.
I think we're going to get a block in the back. Yeah, it looks like Caleb Chandler ended up getting a block in the back right at the end of the play.
And given where Hawkins stepped out of bounds, you'd think they'd decline this. All right, so again, another punt. Louisville scores a touchdown on their first drive since punt, interception, punt for Scott Satterfield's offense.
With these defenses finding ways to get stops. See the offenses trying to be more aggressive. Certainly Louisville, they took a shot, they ran a fake punt. Kentucky defense getting the ball back for its offense, and now extended conversation over there on the far sideline as Louisville makes their decisions.
Scott Satterfield was upset with where the ball was spotted. He thought that Hawkins got more yardage. This is King's second attempt. Remember, he faked one of them. First one went for 46 yards. Low snap. And Josh Ali drifts back to the 19-yard line where he calls for a fair catch.
Academy Sports and Outdoors is making it even easier on you with in-store pickup. It's all new and basically means you go to academy.com, order whatever you need, and come get it in store. Get in, get out, get back to having fun with your family.
Eddie Gran has done a terrific job adapting to running the football. And all those teams above him, Stinch, those are triple option teams, the military academies and Georgia Southern.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about it, this offense, we don't really know what to call it. You know, would you say Gran's emergency plan, right? Eddie Gran doesn't know what to call it either, because each week they add another wrinkle to what they do in this rush attack.
Well, if you look at this formation here, I mean, this is a zone read scheme with triple option principles while in shotgun. That's the difference as Bowden gets through that line and a first down run. So physical in the open field, and he gets near the 35.
It's a lower body strength. It's an inside run for a quarterback. He talked about his offseason conditioning. It has come in handy this year, because you think this guy was planning on playing wide receiver. You're not taking downhill shots from safeties. You're not getting hit by linebackers and running through arm tackles of defensive linemen when you're playing wide out. And that's exactly what Lynn Bowden Jr. is having to do now.
Kentucky has not thrown a pass in the first half, and it would just about shock you as Rodriguez gets near the 40 if he does run the football before the end of the half. Again, he gets the football again to start the second half.
Well, you talk about staying committed to the run. That's what Kentucky was willing to do. You know, the rain has finally let up. Where they want to pass, the conditions would be far more conducive to it now. You think back to Louisville and their lone score, but you see 18 rushes, no passes, not really even any hits at passes.
Straight at the Cardinals defense, and Bowden stays on his feet, and that's a first down.
A leg drive up the pile. He runs through the contact. You look at him, he's saying, let's go. He wants to jump into their tempo offense. Last week, Louisville defensively was didn't even have their hands in the dirt for some snacks. Look at that though. You've got two defenders, picked up another 8 yards after contact.
Should have been 3rd and 2. He was hit at the 45-yard line, but carries defenders up to the 48. He's now 7th all-time in Kentucky all-purpose yards. And remember, he's only a junior. Leads the team in receiving and rushing. Oh, there's a pass. The first of the day. It's Clevan Thomas that makes the catch. And the crowd gives a cheer, too, as Big Blue Nation likes the forward pass. A 4-yard completion for Bowden. He only completed 1 in the victory last week against UT Martin.
I'm kind of disappointed.
You wanted him to just go exclusive.
I want to see a full half of football with no passes. That was basically just a long handoff, though.
20 runs, 1 pass. Make it 21 runs. Bowden's got no place to go. As Dorian Etheridge, who's been terrific tackling quarterbacks the last few weeks, gets the first tackle for loss for the Cardinals today.
3rd and 7.
It'll be 3rd and 7. Kentucky has to get to the Louisville 42.
You can see there for a second, Louisville had yet to line up. Kentucky waiting for the Cardinals to finally establish where they're going to be before they look to the sideline.
Comes the second pass. No, instead taking off. Bowden very close to another first down. Appears to be half a yard shy. Now Louisville has all 3 of its timeouts.
It's almost like it took Kentucky's offensive front by surprise. There's only a 3-man rush and it collapsed. And you can see Kentucky looking to go for it here with 49 seconds left in the first.
E.J. Rose is in the backfield with Bowden. And on the 4th and 1, he is stoned in the backfield and loses yardage on the play as Kane pass gives the Cardinals the football back.
He was trying to bend it backside. Watch Kane pass. He gets in here late. He's the one that makes the play. Here's pass right here. Now watch Bowden. He's going to try to bend this backside. The point of attack is to the right. He was trying to sneak kind of backside of that run. The defense committing over there to its left. You see the defenders. The Kane pass coming in there. That's safety. He was snugged up tight to the line. Now Louisville with the chance near midfield.
They do have all 3 of their timeouts, but this ball is a low ball that's incomplete. Bring up 2nd down.
Remembering the place kicking issues for both these teams. So you're sitting there and you're thinking, if you're Kentucky, nothing cheap here. Not at the end of the half.
It's interesting, too, Kentucky snapping that ball stench on that 4th down with 18 seconds left on the play clock. Cunningham on the option to Hawkins. Hawkins into UK territory, and he turns on the afterburners. Inside the 20, Hawkins, touchdown! 56 yards.
Couldn't have gone any worse for Kentucky off that decision. It could have gone any better for Louisville capitalizing on it. Mark Stoops cannot believe it. You're sitting there and you're thinking defensively, you certainly don't want to let anything behind you off of play action in the passing game. They run an option to the right side of the formation, and Hawkins made him pay.
Chalafu missed his first extra point. This one straight through. It's a 4-point game.
See the option pitch. Hawkins, once again, nice bend back, comes all the way across the grain of the defense. It's a nice block downfield, and it's a foot race to the pylon, and he gets it. Look at the speed of this freshman. Not a big body, but he's a patient runner. Lets blocks be set up in front of him, and when he sees a crease, he hits it hard.
And if there's been one issue for him this year, it's been running on the road. He's only averaging 72 yards a game on the road this year, as opposed to 152 at home. Well, he's in the state of Kentucky today, so he must be comfortable. 13 for 104 and a touchdown.
It's a state border issue, maybe, for Javian Hawkins. Either way, man, those are cheap points you allow right there at the end of half. If you're Kentucky, you're sitting there thinking 4th and inside of a yard. You mentioned snapped it a little bit early. It didn't matter. One play later, next thing you know, you end up in the end zone going the opposite direction. Kentucky gets the ball first, obviously, in the second half. But the Cardinals right back in it with that touchdown run.
Changes everything, doesn't it? So James Turner will kick it to Zach Johnson with just 19 seconds to go in the first half. Kentucky leading this series 16-15. Road team has won each of the last 4. Having trouble fielding that ball was Rose. Heavy tackled at the 7 with 11 seconds to go. Wednesday at a special time of 9 Eastern, it's Marty and McGee. They'll talk Southern culture and football like nobody else can. Marty and McGee right here on the SEC Network and also on the ESPN app. Scary kick for a second there for the Cats.
Make sure that there's some awareness on the return team. That's a live football bouncing around. A.J. Rose able to finally corral it. You have to know Kentucky's just going to play for half right here with 11 seconds. Ball security being paramount in wet conditions.
Well, and one of the things I think Mark Stoops and Eddie Grant is talking to Lynn Bowden about is he doesn't take a kneel down under center. And so he's going to snap this in shotgun. He's never taken a snap under center. So in shotgun, he'll just run around and get up near the 9-yard line. But they really had to give him instructions on what they wanted to do there.
Yeah, kill enough time. 6 seconds, run off the clock. and get into half safely, because you've already given up a touchdown when you were trying to maintain a possession.
It is getting feisty out there on the field. Coming up at halftime, you can watch the live performance of the Wildcat Marching Band on SEC Network Plus. Start streaming now on the ESPN app. Lynn Bowden does not like Louisville. These two teams separated by 78 miles, and it is a rivalry in football that has been so competitive. Kentucky 16, Louisville 15 in all-time wins. And this one, through 30 minutes, has lived up to the billing. Louisville's won 6 of the last 8 as Alyssa gets ready on the field now.
30 or so seconds of the way your team played.
Obviously not very good the last 30 seconds. You know, probably poor decision going for it there. Certainly thought our defense would get off the field there. Gave up the big play, so not very good.
What kind of adjustments will you make at halftime?
Well, we played a very solid game, played a very good game, and dominated most of the game. That's what's disappointing. We let the last 30 seconds get away from us, so got to get back to all the good things we're doing.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
Run it 24 times, and Kentucky has a 17-13. Welcome back to SEC Network College Football, presented by Allstate. The annual Governor's Cup has delivered once again. Kentucky leads Louisville 17-13 as we start the third quarter. Let's see who's winning with style today. Brought to you by Belk, the Kentucky Wildcats, running and running and running again.
We only had 24 attempts in the first half for 201 yards. Saw Lynn Bowden getting in for a score. Cavassier Smoke getting loose, able to get all the way down onto the doorstep. Bowden was able to get it in there once again, but at the end of the half, going for it on 4th down, plenty of time yet on the play clock. Game clock with 35 seconds, 2 plays later. Louisville able to hit a huge run on the back of Javian Hawkins. The worst case scenario for Kentucky at the end of half. And Louisville able to climb back into this game. Both defenses finding ways to get stops and force the ball back to their respective offenses. We said Hawkins and Bowden both needed to have big games, and so far they've both answered the bell.
And with this weather being a big factor today, we've had rain falling in the Lexington area all day long. You would expect more of the same in the second half from those two guys.
Yeah, you know, the rain kind of slackened there for a little while. You'd think maybe more of the passing. We saw one from Kentucky. Louisville really kind of went into their shell a little bit. The penalties slowed them down a bit. The offense needs to get going again. They need to try to hit a couple more downfield shots. They've gotten the chunk plays. They got it on the 4th down for the touchdown. Can they get the passing game going, knowing that the rain has now returned?
This rivalry game has been so fun to call. Kentucky leads the series 16-15, renewing it in 1994. And Stinch, as you said in the open, it's not just basketball anymore. It's football, too, in the Commonwealth.
Right, it got a little bit chippy a couple of times there in the first half. You can tell these teams, they don't like each other. Lynn Bowden, right there at the end of the first half, telling something to the Louisville team as they were running to the visitors' locker room. There's quite a bit of communication, we'll call it, going on between these two teams. It's been a lot of fun so far. They played a relatively clean game. We need to make sure that they keep it within the bounds of the rules, because there's a lot of good football in front of us yet to play.
James Turner will kick it deep to Zach Johnson. One of the issues that Kentucky has had with moving Bowden to quarterback was they took him out of the return game where he was so dynamic. And they'll keep it away from Zach Johnson. Kick this one on the ground. And Schlegel will field it at the 30, down to the 35. Alyssa standing by with Louisville head coach Scott Satterfield.
You guys were able to generate some explosive plays offensively to end the half. How do you continue that momentum now?
Well, yeah, we moved the ball pretty good. We had a couple of times where our penalties got us, but we got to continue to mix it up. We got to be able to throw and run even though the weather's like this.
What do you want to see from your defense in the second half?
We got to tackle better. You know, we let the one long run get out right there, which is we just didn't fit it right. And but the guys are doing, for the most part, doing pretty good. We got to tackle a little bit better, and we should be fine.
Thank you, Coach.
Right, thanks.
It's interesting. Coach Satterfield said, you know, I have never coached or played in a rivalry game like this. He grew up in Durham, North Carolina, and knew all about that Duke-Carolina rivalry as Rose gets near the 40-yard line. But as the head coach at Appalachian State and as a player there, They played Western Carolina over in Cullowhee. That was one of the rivalry games Satterfield was involved in, but nothing like this.
No, not at this level. And, we touched on it earlier where the road team has enjoyed success the last 4 times out. And it's such a even matchup, really, when you think about it. 16 wins for Kentucky and 15 for Louisville.
Takes it out of Rose's belly at the last second and then just takes over. Bowden inside the 30, cuts it back. Staying on his feet, touchdown!
Did we mention Lynn Bowden was a pretty good kick returner? Because that's what that ended up looking like. Broke tackles. Coach Satterfield just talked about it. Defensively, we got to tackle better. There's no doubt. And that's what he's talking about right there. Lynn Bowden, he's probably going to get 5 or 6 yards, maybe the first down right there. He ends up running through tackles and turned that thing into a kick return just past Benny Snell for 5th all-time in all-purpose yards. That's pretty good for a receiver. What did we say that about earlier? Lamar Jackson?
Remind you of what Lamar did at the collegiate level in this game, as Ruffalo makes it 24-13. Bowden at the last second took this out of Rose's belly. Look at it, almost all the way in there. Breaks tackles, turns into an athlete, and the junior that leads the team in receiving and rushing while playing quarterback goes 60 yards for the touchdown.
Look at this. This is probably a no gain, maybe a 1 or 2 yard gain. And then he's just running away from other would-be tacklers. That ended up looked like a punt return almost at the end of it. Excellent vision. Just an unbelievable competitor and a smart football player. To be able to do what they're doing offensively is pretty remarkable. And you're sitting there going, they don't even throw it. Yes, but look what they're doing in the rushing attack and his ability to make that transition. So for the 3rd time in program history, Kentucky has 3,000 rushing yards. That's something else, and they're doing it, as we've mentioned ad nauseum, their quote-unquote 3rd-string quarterback converted receiver.
Really is crazy to think about that. Just about every other team in the country, if you lose your first guy, your second guy is a shoulder injury, Sawyer Smith, that can't really protect himself. You get down to the 3rd guy, it's in large part it's a lost season, not for Kentucky. Looking to get to 7 wins as that goes over Hall's head, and Louisville get it at the 25.
Now, can Louisville introduce some semblance of balance? Can they get the passing game going a little bit? It's not like they like to nip and tuck, kind of chip away in the passing game. That's not who they are. But they need to have that element to their offense so that the defense will loosen up a bit. Kentucky has to respect that run, there's no doubt. And that's where Louisville has, throughout this season, been able to hit big plays. In their play-action passing game, they are tied for 1st in the FBS for explosive plays, 40-plus yards coming into this game 27 times. Only Memphis had as many as the Cardinals.
Cunningham to Hawkins, and Javian is up near the 29. A part of the problem in converting those big plays today, Stinch, is they're going up against one of the stingiest defenses in the country.
Right, and one of the better pass defenses. You look back, they hit 2 big plays in the first half, incidentally. So the one on the 4th down to Tutu Atwell versus this pass defense. And then, of course, Javian Hawkins, right before the end of half, rips off the big run. Otherwise, it's been a pretty quiet day.
Hawkins in trouble and just goes down. That was Josh Paschal that was the first man back there to wreak some havoc. It's 3rd down.
And this time it looks like it's on Mekhi Becton. It's not. Now watch Paschal. He's going to come underneath the block. But this zone concepts. Keep running your zone. Left guard has to come out and recognize when you get an outside or edge defender rocking inside into your gap, you're zoning to the left, you got to pick up that defender. Instead, Paschal got a free run on the runner.
3rd and 10. Cunningham trying to stay on the field, and it's caught at the 36-yard line by Tutu Atwell.
Calvin Taylor once again Puts pressure on Cunningham. He hit him as he throws. What a fantastic catch by Tutu Atwell. Great job by the officials on the field. I'm sure replay's taking a look at it. The fans don't like it. They're wrong. That's a catch.
Good job by Cunningham getting the next play off quickly so the officials wouldn't have more time to think about it. That's a 4-yard pickup up to the 40-yard line where Dort makes the tackle.
There's the passing element to the offense. Coach Satterfield talked about it a little bit. Can we get that going? You could see the running game slowed. Obviously, Pascal with that tackle for loss. He turned right back around and hit a strike to get a conversion and try to jumpstart this offensive possession.
Hawkins gets past Bohanna. First down run up near midfield. Kentucky fans wanted a holding call.
Maybe should have gotten a holding call. In fact, I don't know how they did. Bohanna got upfield. Right now, watch the big man. Right now, in the middle of your screen, he gets upfield. I don't know how that's not a hold. He grabs his arm and his jersey.
Meanwhile, it's a bad toss from Cunningham, and Hawkins did a good job to keep possession as Josh Pascal is a little slow to get up. Still down on the field. This man is the Mayo Clinic Comeback Player of the Year nominee. Had melanoma in his foot. Forced him to miss most of last season. Had to take a medical red shirt. One of the more courageous people that you'll see in college football is still on the field. And we'll take a timeout. Josh Pascal over to the sideline. Jordan Wright coming in for the big redshirt sophomore. All these players braving the elements today. 45 degrees doesn't seem so cold, but when the wind is whipping like it is, and there's been rain for hours and hours and hours, makes it feel even colder. 2nd and 12 for the Cardinals, down 11. Cunningham on the design keeper. Stoned in the middle of that Cats defense. Jordan Wright was right there. 3rd down.
A great job again by Quentin Bohanna, just running down the line of scrimmage. Nowhere to go for Cunningham, and we've seen it evidenced already in this game. Louisville struggles in pass protection. Boogie Watson, number 31, right here for Kentucky. He's enjoyed some success. Right now they've got a tight end over to his side. I'd like to see them maybe chip Watson. They don't.
Already converted 1 3rd and 10 on this drive. Cunningham will try to run for another, and he'll get it, but he fumbles. It goes out of bounds, and Louisville will retain possession. What a break. Now, we'll see where they mark this football, though.
That's right. That ball came out. Boogie Watson did a great job of retracing on his rush. Look at him hatchet that ball out. And where does the ball go out of bounds? Looks like it would be just shy.
Well, there was a flag down on the field.
I didn't see the flag come out until after Cunningham had crossed the line of scrimmage. It's to come out later.
He's talking to Coach Stoops about his options. Jeff McConaughey, today's referee. This is after the play.
During the play, personal foul, offense, late hit, number 73. 15-yard penalty, 3rd down.
So they're going to take that penalty. Mekhi Becton with a personal foul, the left tackle. It was 3rd and 10, and this will push the Cardinals back.
That's a couple penalties on big number 73. Had a procedure penalty earlier. Coach Satterfield also mentioned, penalties derailing their offensive possessions and drives. Otherwise, that ball, where it trickled out, it would have been 4th and very short for the Cardinals. Instead, they accept this penalty, and they're going to mark this thing off. Remarkably difficult.
Talked to Scott Satterfield about the call. He's still asking about what the foul was and where did it occur. As Becton is incredulous on the field. I think we believe we have eyes on it, Stinch.
Yeah, you know, Mekhi Becton, left tackle. Watch him right here. Here he is. He's engaged with Jordan Wright. He's going to end up dumping Wright. See him dump him on the ground, then he goes in to finish him. Didn't lead with his helmet. I don't know what the penalty's for.
Yeah, and then on the 3rd and 23 on a jailbreak blitz, Jamin Davis makes the sack. Louisville fans have to be furious about that sequence.
Otherwise, you know, you're facing a 4th and short. Davis comes unscathed and untouched. Free run at the quarterback. Now the 8th tackle for loss for this Kentucky defense. And there's no doubt. I mean, you're looking at it, you're going earlier, it was a holding penalty, derailed a Louisville possession, and that time they get put deep in a hole after what otherwise would have been a decision, certainly, to try to convert on a 4th and short.
It's 4th and inches if they keep the flag in their pants, and instead it's 3rd and 23. It's a sack, and King has to punt the ball away and barely gets the punt near the first down marker. So Kentucky gets it back, up 11 in the pouring rain. So much potential with what will be revealed on that program Tuesday night. If Utah beats Colorado tonight, if Alabama beats Auburn coming up in an hour and a half, will Utah remain behind the Crimson Tide? That's a big question going into the college football playoff reveal. Of course, the Sunday after championship games is when everything is set in stone. Here, A.J. Rose running into Cards territory inside the 45-yard line. That's a first down for the Cats. Georgia's chances are better than anybody in terms of all those that have one loss right now. Dogs lead the Jackets 17-7 at the half right now. And then, of course, the Gophers aren't out of it, Stinch. They got Wisconsin today for a Big Ten championship play-in game. Then, of course, they have to beat the Buckeyes next week. That's a tall order.
The Buckeyes, who are now, you know, miraculously the #1 team in the country. LSU getting bumped down to the #2 team now. Of course, that's the reason Georgia gets a shot at it, right? You beat LSU, you're in. If you don't, it's very likely that you're out. I can't imagine them having any way, regardless of how they lose to LSU. And of course, you look at Minnesota, you beat the #1 team in the country in the Big Ten championship game, you've done something.
Injured player on the other sideline. That was for Louisville. There he is. As it's Boozy Whitlow.
Boozy Whitlow.
These elements today have been a big issue. I'm sure the Commonwealth is cooped up watching this, trying to eat one more leftover Thanksgiving sandwich. Just one more. Just one more.
It is the season to overeat.
9 minutes remaining in the third quarter as Kentucky tries to get to that 7-win mark. Done at least that each of the last 3 years. Rose won't get much on that play as Nick Okeke makes the open field tackle, and it's quite an accomplishment by Mark Stoops to get to 7 wins each of the last 4 years if they win this game today. He's 16-8 in his last 24 games, and he just passed Jerry Claiborne for 3rd in victories at Kentucky. He's got 4 more to get to Fran Kersey, who's 2nd. Of course, Bear Bryant is 1st with 60 wins. Bowden on the keeper, straight ahead inside the 40. There's been a lot of discussion, Stinch, about Mark Stoops' future and if that will be in Lexington. The Florida State job is open where he was the defensive coordinator in 2012. He said earlier this week, that's old news. Let's move on.
Yeah, slam the door on that. You know, you look at Rutgers and what's going on there, obviously entirely different scenario. But now back in discussion seemingly with Greg Schiano after that seemed to be dead. Mark Stoops left no crack in the door whatsoever. He said that's over with.
I saw Barry Odom was relieved of his duties earlier today as the Missouri Tigers head coach. It's now 3rd and 3 for Kentucky. From the Louisville 37 on an option play. Bowden first down. Flag comes in as he is tripped up, as Isaiah Hayes might have prevented a touchdown, but this one looks like it's coming back.
My goodness.
Offense number 52, 10-yard penalty, 3rd down.
All right, I hate these calls. And this happens a lot, where these offensive linemen end up tipping a defensive lineman. So watch Drake Jackson. He's going to reach to his right. And watch him reach, and then he dumps the lineman. I don't know. That's a holding penalty somehow. And I've seen that called a couple times this year, and I just don't get it.
It's only the 2nd penalty on Kentucky. Now it's 3rd and 13. Lynn Bowden has thrown 1 football today for 4 yards to Clevan Thomas. He has 4 receivers in his pattern, 3 as you see at the bottom of the screen. Instead will run again. And he is tackled at the 43-yard line.
Looked like he had a chance if he breaks this QB draw to the right, opposite those 3 receivers. There was some field to run and ended up having to spin out of an unblocked defender.
He's slow to get up. He's dealing with his left foot.
And rolled his ankle. The tail end. Yeah, right there, his left ankle rolled up a bit as he was being brought to the ground.
He has 18 carries today for 161 yards, and as great as he has been with the football, when you run the ball 147 times in a season as he has, and you're not 200 pounds, you risk injury. Bowden's done a great job of staying on that football field all year. Meanwhile, let's get an update on what's happening with Clemson and South Carolina. Toss it back to PB.
Thank you, Taylor. Travis Etienne doing Travis Etienne things. Breaks it outside, 31-3. Trevor Lawrence, 260 yards, 3 touchdowns. Guys, Clemson, I don't know if they're the number 3 team in the country. They might be 1 or 2.
Yeah, and South Carolina losing 31-3 right now. They are playing, Peter, like a team that is possessed. Since that 1-point victory over North Carolina, they have been bludgeoning each opponent. They'll play Virginia next Saturday night in the ACC championship game. Crazy that 7 different teams have won the Coastal Division in the last 7 years. That was one of the stranger punts you'll ever see from Max Duffy, and boy, did it work out. I think Zach Johnson stopped it shy. That could have been stopped at the 1. Max Duffy, that was almost like a Texas wedge shot that he hits there. Look at this.
Maybe one of my Texas wedge shots. That was hideous. And it worked out great.
Looking forward to that Monday night, Alyssa. You're in that loud crowd right next to you trying to get into this thing. Louisville snapped that from the 4. Javian Hawkins runs it up past the 20 for a 17-yard gain. Hawkins well over 100 on the day.
We talked about his difficulties on the road as another Kentucky defender on the ground now. But Hawkins, proving why he's one of the best runners in the conference. Low to the ground runner, shows nice vision, able to bounce with speed out to the outside. It looks like it's Chris Oates for Kentucky who's down. Saw Jamin Davis in there as well. DeAndre Square nicked up, missed last week's game versus UT Martin. As this one. The way they're working on that right calf, like he's cramping. See him pushing the fluids.
Brad White, the defensive coordinator, has done a terrific job with this unit. Brand new secondary, minus Jordan Griffin. Everyone else was a first-year starter and a first-year contributor. Cedric Dort is a sophomore. This is his third year he's ever played football. Played 1 year of high school football, and he's had a really good season as a starting cornerback for Kentucky. You lose Josh Allen, Jordan Jones off that defense last year. You could argue this defense has been just as good, if not better, against the Southeastern Conference.
No doubt. And you can't say enough about, we talk about Eddie Grand on the offense side. Well, it's because we expected Kentucky's offense to kind of carry the team this year, knowing that they hemorrhaged so much talent defensively. Brad White, of course, with some help from Mark Stoops, they've done a great job on the defensive side as well.
Hawkins runs out to the 24-yard line. He has now had the 4th best rushing season in Louisville history with that run, as he has 129 now on the day. He's over 1,400 yards rushing on the season.
You talked about the turnaround that Louisville was able to execute this year under Satterfield. Dwayne Ledford, offensive coordinator, their commitment to getting their rushing attack going and sticking with it. They certainly have fueled them to 7 wins. They're very much still in this ball game, especially the way Hawkins is running the football in this possession.
You think they're going to have to score, though, on this drive. Cunningham fakes the toss to Hawkins, keeps it himself, asks for a block from Atwell, and gets around the edge. Boy, the athleticism we have seen from both of these quarterbacks today has been something special.
Pretty remarkable for both of these guys. They are deadly, to say the least. A great job that time by the Kentucky defense on the perimeter, stringing that option play out, because he had it. An opportunity, at least, to get that ball out of his hands, strung it out, ended up into the boundary before getting the yards to gain. And we've seen QB draws called a couple of times in this game already. Quarterback design runs. Right now, Louisville with 2 backs in the offensive backfield.
Oh, and a left tackle moving early at the end of that line.
3rd down.
Tyler Haycraft, who typically lines up at right tackle, was at the end of the line at the left.
Yeah, they ran an unbalanced formation, and you get a little bit swirling. They've done this a time or two before, where you line up in an overload set, and you end up a little bit excited. You're not used to being over there, maybe. It's a lonely feeling when you've left the line of scrimmage, you turn around and all your teammates are still in their stance. I wouldn't know. I never really did that.
Never.
Thought about it, though, once.
2-time All-American, College Football Hall of Famer.
It jumped off sides plenty.
And now Coach Satterfield's going to call timeout as that play clock was running out. It's a big play coming up for him and his team, down 11.
Now listen.
Mizzen and Main Performance Dress Shirts. Visit mizzenandmain.com/TV for free shipping.
How much money do you really have? Are you spending too much? Will you be ready to retire? Get an up-close and personal 360-degree view of your money with Personal Capital. Over 2 million people use our award-winning tools. Download our free app or talk to us about your investments. It's more than just financial tools. It's Personal Capital. Download the app at personalcapital.com.
Even if it's just spoiling the other guy's party, there's always something to play for in a rivalry game.
You're either a Gamecock or you're a Tiger. They're rivals from across the state. It's a rivalry game. Throw the records out.
Always something big at stake when Florida State square off.
It is clean, old-fashioned hate.
You get one chance, and you have to live with the outcome for 365 days.
Love having these 4 games featuring 2 teams from the same state in 2 different conferences. 3rd and 8, and at the incomplete pass to Fitzpatrick in the rain as Cunningham tried to force it in there, and Louisville will have to punt.
Had a chance for it, though. Almost converted it yet again.
Florida and Florida State coming up tonight. Clemson whipping South Carolina again. Dogs all over the Jackets. And Kentucky leading the Cardinals. So right now, you've got 2 SEC teams beating 1 ACC team with that Florida State game in prime time here on SEC Network. Ali will field this at the 35, and he's tripped up right there. Back to our friend Peter Burns in the studio.
Czar, time to go outside the footprint and stop me if you've heard this before. Ohio State scores again. Justin Fields finds KJ Hill 35-16. Part of the reason why, guys, Ohio State passed LSU in the college football playoff. They said they're a complete team. They look like it in Ann Arbor.
I just don't know what you tell Michigan fans now, PB, about Jim Harbaugh. Here's a guy that won 10 straight games going into the game. Last year got whipped. Teams playing their best football this year, they're getting whipped at home in Ann Arbor. They win 8 or 9 games, but they didn't hire him to do that.
No, they brought him in there to beat Ohio State, right? If you could beat Ohio State, then obviously you were the premier team in that conference. Haven't been able to do it.
Rodriguez running hard past the 40-yard line, gets up through the 45. That's a first down run for maybe the most physical of all of Kentucky's tailbacks, the redshirt freshman from McDonough, Georgia. As with that run, Kentucky's at 300 rushing yards, and we're still in the third quarter. Remember, they went over 400 in the last 2 games.
Pretty impressive when you talk about just how singular they are in offense. Completely one-dimensional.
This is Rose up to midfield. So much so that was the 32nd run of the day, and Bowden's thrown 1 pass.
And that one was a horizontal pass, right? I mean, right there to Cleveland Thomas. He just stood up and threw it out there. Haven't seen scrambles. Not like they're even seeking to throw it. They've had success consistently on the ground, and on 1st and 2nd, getting to 3rd and manageable where they can stay in their run mode.
Tosses it this time to Rodriguez, and he is to the 46-yard line, inches shy of a first down. It'll be 3rd down from there. Cavassier Smoke only has 2 carries in the game, and of course he had a 70-yarder with one of those, and the other tailbacks are playing as we speak.
Right now, A.J. Rose and Chris Rodriguez at least lining up. Rose on the previous snap, sharing the backfield with Rodriguez. Of course, whenever Bowden's in there, you've got at least one running back in the game.
And it's Bowden keeping it himself with open space all the way to the end zone. Another one. $3,130. That is a school record for rushing yards in a season for the Kentucky Wildcats, and they set the all-time record with a 46-yard touchdown run from their quarterback.
Just dominant. It's been a dominating performance.
Ruffalo makes it 31-13.
That's the 2 tight ends for Kentucky. Rigg and Upshaw. Look at this. Nice block coming all the way back across. Bowden with a clean read. Little snipper back. Line up at H-back, cross the formation, block the backside, make sure that you've got some running room if your quarterback decides to pull it. Bowden Jr. is like, man, look, I don't know what to say. He's out of words. He's certainly not out of breath. I think that guy could do it all day long. You wonder what he was saying to the Louisville players as they were going into the locker room, because he didn't wait long here in the second half to announce his presence.
Tell him one thing that he can talk about is setting that school record. That record, by the way, was set in 1974. It's a record that stood 45 years before it was broken. Bowden setting a Governor's Cup record, too, with those 207 rushing yards you talked about. McInnes kicking it again to Hall. He can't field it, so Louisville will have to start at the 25. More college football rivalry games later today at 4 Eastern from Knoxville. It's Vanderbilt facing Tennessee, and it's 7:30 Eastern. Our SEC Saturday night matchup comes from the Swamp as number 11 Florida hosts Florida State. Both games available on the SEC Network and the ESPN app. You know, Alyssa, because we're avid fans and thinking out loud, you guys were talking about Jeremy Pruitt and wondering if he would make it through October, and all of us were when they were 1-4. How about the fact that he has a chance at a 7th win coming up later?
It's pretty incredible, and I know we had a Tennessee game early in the season when the Vols were still trying to figure out who they were. They were still trying to get a win, get some momentum, and ever since then, it's been a totally different team than we saw the first couple of weeks, guys.
And we have a totally different quarterback on the field for Louisville with an offsides penalty. Evan Conley, the true freshman from Marietta, Georgia, is at quarterback, played early in the season as the backup to Puma Pass. Conley committed to Appalachian State to Coach Satterfield, but when Sat left and came here, he flipped his commitment, and now he's a Louisville Cardinal.
Satterfield talked about, he's gotten the reps as the number 2 quarterback throughout the season and has been prepared to be inserted and is here now trying to climb back into the game.
Conley can't run like Cunningham, but he dives ahead to the 23. It'll be 2nd and long. Interesting to see who wins the SEC Coach of the Year award. Some maybe would go with Coach O. He's undefeated. Of course, adding Joe Brady. Mark Stoops getting to 7 wins through this adversity could be in that conversation. I'm sure Jeremy Pruitt will be too.
Mark Stoops, I think, had I pick one, it's the fact that it just kind of befell this team, right? It's not like they underperformed when healthy.
It is Hassan Hall running behind his pads. Even some officials went down on the play. It'll be 3rd and about 1.
Cole Bentley, the center for Louisville, finishing his block through the umpire. Cole Bentley in the middle of the offensive front for Louisville. They're trying to fight their way. Down 3 possessions now in this game and trying to reassert this rushing attack with no Cunningham.
And on the 3rd and 1, Hall breaking tackles, moves the chains for a 1st down. Louisville's going to go into the 4th quarter trailing 31-13, asking Evan Conley, the true freshman, to come off the bench and mount the big comeback. Mikhail Cunningham played the first 2.5 quarters. He's been battling with a stomach bug today. And they'll go to the bench with Conley in the 4th quarter of the Governor's Cup. Cats have been terrific through the rain. Lynn Bowden running all day. Now it's our 5-star play of the day presented by Yellowwood. Well, you can pick a Lynn Bowden touchdown run. He had a 60-yarder before this 46-yard touchdown run. Over 200 rushing yards today, over 1,100 on the season. And now Louisville and Evan Conley. And Conley lost the football momentarily and will be tackled for a loss. Let's check on what's happening with Ohio State and Michigan. Here's Peter Burns. All right, we'll try Peter back in just a moment.
That's the risk you run, making this switch, right? Some of these zone read concepts, he's riding Hall. That ball just ended up on Hall's hip and ended up on the ground. Lucky they got it back.
On a 2nd and 10, Hall is up to the 40, and so now it's going to be 3rd and long for the Cards as Calvin Taylor was there to make another tackle.
It's been a nightmare distance to go situation all game long for Louisville. it's been a difficult spot because they've averaged 9.8 yards to go on third down. They had that same average to go versus NC State. The difference was they were converting. This game, you see confusion now. Conley trying to convince Hall he's supposed to be on the other side for protection.
Under pressure, slammed down by Boogie Watson.
You see in pre-snap, Conley's trying to move Hall to his right side. And Boogie Watson wins right now. Here's Watson, he's going to win inside. And before this, watch him win on the inside move. They're running a twist game, and instead, Louisville incapable of switching off this game. End tackle. The end comes underneath, the tackle comes around. Boogie Watson able to get Conley on the ground.
Third sack for Kentucky today. Louisville has had a hard time protecting their quarterbacks all season. It's another King punt. And Ali at the 29 is tackled at the 36. Boogie Watson with 6.5 sacks now on the season, right behind his running mate Calvin Taylor for the SEC lead. I can tell you somebody they'll be talking about on prime time this Sunday. That man, Lamar Jackson. Ravens hosting the 49ers, and this guy has taken the NFL by storm in just his second season in the league.
Look at those
the numbers are just crazy. He did that against the Kentucky Wildcats here in Lexington a couple of years ago. Chris Rodriguez trying to hit the home run ball. They won't catch him. "64 yards, Kentucky is gashing Louisville."
Poor Cavassier Smoke. Everybody else gets to run for a touchdown, and so far he just hadn't had his chance. Ripped off one of the longer runs of the game, came up just shy. Nice job. Logan Stenberg pulled around. And a good-looking play from the line of scrimmage. Great job by Rodriguez.
You see 419. Kentucky had never gone back-to-back with 400 rushing yards in consecutive game stinch. And now they've done it 3 games in a row. 401 versus Vandy, 462 versus UT Martin, 419 with this run here.
Watch the pull at left guard. Logan Stenberg. A penalty earlier. F counter. Kick out. Let your lead blocker block the linebacker. You kick out the edge defender. Chris Rodriguez, you just go hit the hole. Try not to blow a hamstring or get a cramp on the way there. Nice patience. You see him? Eddie Grand's the running back coach here at Kentucky. He talks about it all the time. Slow to and fast through. Allow the hole to develop. Let those pullers get in front of you. Rodriguez did a great job of bursting through the hole. Mark Stoops kind of yucking it up the whole game down there with the officials. It's gone well.
Yeah, these are ACC officials. He doesn't know them as well.
That's right. That's right. They're still getting to know each other. Yeah.
What a performance from Kentucky on the ground, running it 35 of 36 offensive plays.
I think that one pass really loosened up the defense, though, and that's why they've been able to run the football so effectively.
And look, no matter what happens here in the next 12:43, it's been a terrific turnaround season for Scott Satterfield. 7-4 starts, the best for a first-season coach since 2003. They were 0-8. Team completely quit in November. Went 2-10 overall. And this year you go 5-3 in league play, 7-4, and you've developed playmakers at tailback and Javian Hawkins, and Tutu Atwell's one of the best receivers in America.
He's a winner, and he's got a good staff, a really good staff, and credit these kids on the Louisville roster for buying in as much as they have. To turn it around so completely in a short period of time is pretty remarkable.
Conley, and that was almost picked off. Hit a couple of cats. J.J. Weaver had it in his grasp. You know, Satterfield, as you look at what he's done, look at those games last year, Stinch, where they lost and got blown out of the stadium. They exacted revenge on each of those 5 opponents. Satterfield didn't coach that 2018 team, and he made a big emphasis on that. Last year doesn't matter.
Yeah, those are double-digit losses in all of them. BC, Wake Forest, Virginia, NC State. They're able to fight their way back into this season.
Nice option pitch there from Conley to Hawkins. It's 3rd and short. We asked him, is it harder to take a program like Appalachian State from the FCS or to the FBS, or harder to start over here? He said it's harder to start over. Building a culture is much more difficult than flipping divisions or even levels of college football. And the level of trust that you have to have from your team is something he and his staff have worked so hard on.
And they've had to establish that, right? Because you mentioned it, that 2018, it wasn't just a bad year. It was a lost season.
Conley gets the first down.
You know, from a cultural standpoint, they shut it down. And the coaching staff under Bobby Petrino, you get the 2 wins. It was an ugly year, to say the least. To get it turned around, not only from a buy-in standpoint, you introduce what you want to be offensively. There's a long way to go yet, certainly on the defensive side of football as well. But there's no doubt that this program at Louisville's headed in the right direction.
Well, and all the playmakers we've seen today, they'll be back next season. Conley wanted to throw, instead will take off, trying to get blockers in front, and he just can't outrace Quandre Mosley.
Quandre Mosley made the tackle. He was also in pursuit.
When you look at Louisville's team, too, you know, they have to get some recruiting cycles. Talk to some of these coaches. Hey, what do you need? What's it going to take to beat fill in the blank? We need a couple of recruiting cycles. There's no doubt that's what's needed. Now, given what they want to be offensively, the guys up front, you need athletes that can run. They've got a next-level talent at left tackle. That won't be available next year. Becton's gone. If you look at the pieces, as you mentioned, from a skill player standpoint, the cover's pretty full. Defensively, they got to get better. They got to get better in the box. There's no doubt. Really, at every level of their defense, they need some dudes. Jonathan Bernard, who now plays for Florida.
He was on this team?
He was on this team. Transfers, was going to be the ACC Defensive Player of the Year, at least preseason. Thought to be in 2018. He would have been the best player on this Louisville defense. They need some guys to grow up, but they're also going to need to inject new talent. There's no doubt. There's one of the young talents right there in freshman Javian Hawkins. Missed some time in camp. Had to battle his way into the lineup and earn the primary ball carrier role.
Offensive line has had trouble all day. This is another false start penalty on that Cardinal offensive front. So in summary, basically the conclusion is defense everywhere and offensive line must get better. But at the skill position, Scott Satterfield has laid the foundation. It was interesting what his offensive coordinator, Dwayne Ledford, said. Don't do 1,000 different things once. Do one thing 1,000 times. And that's what Louisville has tried to do, is they shoot their gun on a 3rd and 12.
Certainly had their hands full on 3rd and longs all game.
Option pitch. Hawkins trying to find somewhere to go. Jordan Wright there to make the tackle, 4th down.
Similar concept to what they had. Ran a touchdown in right before the end of first half. That time, though, Jordan Wright not having it.
It's a 4th straight punt for Louisville. 7th in the last 10 drives. And think about how great the game started for the Cardinals on the first drive, converting a 4th down for a touchdown to Atwell. Let's go over Ali's head. And it will be down inside the 3. Kentucky looking for another win in the Governor's Cup. Here's what ESPN.com projects for these two teams in the postseason. Kyle Bonagura and Mark Schleybaugh disagree about Louisville. Kyle's got him in the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl against the Washington Huskies. Schleybaugh has Louisville and Navy in the Military Bowl presented by Northrop Grumman. and they both have Kentucky in the Franklin American Mortgage Music City Bowl. Kyle's got them playing Pitt. Schleybaugh has Kentucky playing the Miami Hurricanes. Of course, the Cats went there 2 years ago, went for 2 at the end of the game, lost to Northwestern by 1 point. Cats will snap this at their own 2. Rodriguez breaking tackles after a 60-yard run a moment ago, giving Kentucky some space. And it hasn't mattered if your name is Vanderbilt, UT Martin, or Louisville. Kentucky is just running all over their opponents.
You look back over what they've done this year. They ran the football well. It started really when they moved Lynn Bowden to quarterback versus Arkansas. And he goes off versus the Razorbacks, as many have all season. But then the last couple of weeks, 401, 462, 438 yards, and count it.
Cleveland Thomas can tell everybody he caught a pass today, though.
That's right.
Bowden gets a block from Rodriguez. Off to the races again. I think Mark Stoops probably in part is like, why don't you go down? Let's milk some time off this clock.
That's right. Yeah.
It's 40 more.
Fatigue, maybe, sitting in. Well-blocked play. Chris Rodriguez goes from a play fake to a blocker there on the edge, sealed the edge defender. Well, we've seen Lynn Bowden do that all afternoon. It's down there raining like crazy. Coach Stoops ditched the hood. Just going with the Rocky Balboa towel around the neck.
Coach Stoops continues to get contract extensions and be committed to Kentucky for the long term. I'm sure he'll be sitting by the fire enjoying this victory in just a few hours, as will Eddie Grand. What a job these guys have done.
You see Mark Stoops, he just walks down there. It's just a quick conversation with his play caller. Obviously, he's very engaged with the defensive side, but he spends a lot of time with the offenses as well. In fact, Eddie Grand, as the play caller has said, he really likes coaching for and with Mark Stoops, the way he approaches the game.
On a flea flicker, Rose has Ali out there, and he can't make the catch. What about that? Flea flicker with 6:27 to go.
Well, it definitely did not sneak onto the field, right? Because we just got done showing Coach Stoops down there visiting with Eddie Grand. Up 25 points, 6.5 to play. I think he was going to cut loose another one, and then, of course, Coach Satterfield on the other side, a rivalry game.
Store that one in the memory bank?
No doubt.
3rd and 8, fake to Rose, and Bowden will run inside the 32. It'll be 4th and short for there.
Of course, the fans in attendance already pleading with the coaching staff to go for it.
Bowden says, come on, let's do it. We do have an injured Cardinal. Nick Okeke is down on the field, so I give the Cats a little more time to think about this choice.
SEC Network Football is presented by Allstate, reminding you that football season is mayhem.
It's SEC Network College Football, presented by Allstate here in Lexington, Kentucky, where the Wildcats are pouring it on the Louisville Cardinals. 38-13. Rain has been constant throughout this game today, just like Lynn Bowden touching the football and running with it for 252 yards. Will he keep it himself on a 4th and 3 as Kentucky tries to run out the clock? Suddenly the 3 on the play clock. And Rodriguez gets the block for Bowden, and Bowden to the house again.
Well, the last big run by Lynn Bowden, Chris Rodriguez had a phenomenal block. Watch him again. Another nice block by Rodriguez. This time he kicks out. Last time he sealed the defender in. Similar concept to Bowden's big run previously on that possession. They tried a flea flicker to get it in the end zone one more time. Unnecessary. That's a pass. You just stick with the run. They end up in the end zone again.
Ruffalo makes it 45-13. It's been 3 years since any team in the SEC ran for over 500 yards when the Auburn Tigers did it. Kentucky has 517 rushing yards today, thanks to that guy. Now let's look at today's All-State Mayhem moment featuring Kentucky running the football down Louisville's throat. Well, we'll do that right after the kick. Bobbled by the Cardinals and slipping down at the 10-yard line. Now we'll do that. We'll take a look at today's All-State Mayhem moment. I was just excited to show you all of Kentucky's running prowess today from Chris Rodriguez, Cavassier Smoke. They now have a school record 33 rushing touchdowns. They have 517 rushing yards. Lynn Bowden has 284 of those yards.
It's unbelievable. Yeah, it's just unbelievable what they've been able to do. We talked about the other teams that pile up yards on the ground so one-dimensionally. They're all the service academies. They're all triple option-based offenses. That's certainly not what Kentucky had coming into this season. They have morphed into a dominant rushing team.
Hassan Hall getting a few yards, Stoops, and Kentucky will improve to 7-5. Another winning season for the Cats. Winning 5 of their last 6 games, too.
They're on quite a run. When you think about all the adversity that they've had to endure this season, in a season where they knew they were going to rebuild on defense.
Tutu Atwell, the first down run. Let's go back to the studio and Peter Burns.
Taylor, we're all looking at college football playoff implications for these games. Now, Justin Fields earlier in the game goes back to pass. Now, the play that you'll look here collapses, gets run into, holding his left knee. Scary moment, would come back into the game. First play back, big old bulky leg brace. It don't matter. Fields, touchdown pass. Yeah, he'll be okay. Ohio State okay as well. They're up 17 over Michigan.
We're watching that one, PB, as Michigan and Ohio State play. Buckeyes try to win an unprecedented 8th straight. And that rivalry, Kentucky trying for their 2nd straight win in the Governor's Cup. They lead the series 16-15. It's kind of crazy they didn't have the game for 70 years until some great athletic directors in the early 90s renewed the series, and they've been playing it every year since 1994. They used to start the season with it. Now they're finishing the season. In fact, the guys that put this game together back in 1993, Bill Olson, the Louisville athletic director, C.M. Newton, the Kentucky AD, Coach Schnellenberger, of course, played at Kentucky and then coached at Louisville, and Bill Curry was the head coach of the Wildcats back then. Governor's Cup is 33 inches tall, weighs 110 pounds. Played in the opener all the way up through the early part of this century, but since 2016, it has been the finisher to the season. Conley on a 3rd and 5. Nice move made as Louisville makes as Hassan Hall makes the catch. First down.
And it fits in so much better, I think, at the back end of the season. Yeah, it gives you something to look forward to coming out of summer camp. See a defender down for Kentucky. But the fact that it's at the end of the season, it's just a good capper for the year. It gives us something that certainly meshes with everyone else's rivalry week. To play it at the end, see how it finishes. Obviously, come out of the conference, sure. But I think it gives someone at least something for the fans to point towards at the back end of the year. And knowing that both of these teams are going to make it into the postseason, they have opportunities to play in the bowls as well.
Thankful for you, pal. It's been another fun year.
Pal?
We have a great crew. Andrea Deegan leads this crew, and she is bidding farewell to us at the end of this season. What a fantastic job you have done for us, Andrea. We thank you so much. But Tom Schofield, Dan McVan, our entire crew, it's a family that we travel with each and every Saturday.
Yeah, they only have to look and see us every once in a while, but it takes it's like a traveling circus to get this thing on air. Grateful to work with the folks that we do covering the teams that we get to cover.
To the injury to Jordan Wright. Louisville has a 1st and 10 at their own 35. Conley has been chased by Kentucky Wildcats all day and has to throw this one in the Louisville bench. With Owen Hawkins, backup defensive lineman, with the pressure there. That, to me, Stinch, is where Coach Satterfield has to make the most improvement to his roster, is on his defensive line.
Yeah, you know, when you
offensive line, excuse me.
Offensively, they have to find a way to be able to hold up better in protection. It's obvious that they've done a ton of work with their run blocking, and it's been evidenced by their production there. But even in a play-action mode, where it should be easier to protect, they leak too much in their pass protection, too much activity around the passers, regardless of how mobile they are. Makes it difficult to be consistent in the passing game, especially when they want to become more balanced and less chunk play oriented on their passing portion.
Justin Marshall made that catch to make it a 3rd and 3. I know this is at the end of the game, and these yards aren't as significant maybe as the ones that are made when the game is competitive. But this is the first time in 8 games that Kentucky has given up over 305 yards with that run by Maurice Berkeley. But they didn't give up those yards in crunch time. This defense has held their position so well in the last 2 months.
Yes, you talk about how well they played. We mentioned statistically the best pass defense in this entire conference. And you're talking about an entirely rebuilt secondary, and one that's without a known pass rusher. Boogie Watson had a great day here today, but they haven't had a consistent pass rush. It's been a remarkable performance by that unit.
Conley incomplete as he looked for Fitzpatrick, and Cedric Dort got his hand in there. And I was just about to say how remarkable it is that Kentucky's only given up 1 pass play over 40 yards this season, and on cue, Dort breaks that pass up. And this is for a Kentucky defense that really struggled giving up explosive plays in the last few years.
Yeah, and when you look at that, so they're not allowing big plays, playing a lot of zone coverage. They make you earn your way down the football field. Part of it's a function of facing a lot of backup quarterbacks. Sure, but you still have to get out there and make it happen defensively. They've been able to do that. It's been really impressive. Really, other than a game versus South Carolina, I felt like this defense reestablished its edge. They were a tough unit a season ago. That was really the only moment where you thought, I don't know, I think they let off the gas a bit. Otherwise, impressive on that side of the football.
Impressed, too, with the coaching staff that Coach Stoops has built. That was Brad White you saw calling the plays. 3rd and 4. Spinning around was Marshall. With Dort again in coverage, it'll be 4th down. And you think just 2 years ago, Coach Stoops started calling the plays again on defense, had some issues with his coordinators for a couple of years. Man, has he figured it out with Eddie Grand and with Brad White.
And the balance is there. There's no question. And, we talked about it on the call. Early on, he felt like he wanted to be a tempo guy. That's 7 years ago. Neil Brown, offensive coordinator, You know, hit a foul ball with Shannon Dawson as his coordinator, no doubt. Brings in Eddie Graham. And he said, if I stayed tempo, I probably wouldn't be here anymore. But he's smart enough to adapt and has.
Louisville trying for this conversion with 38 seconds to go. Conley got it. That's Fitzpatrick moving the chains. Fitzpatrick has had a great 3-year career, tied with Deion Branch for 6th in school history with 18 receiving touchdowns, the junior from Farmington Hills, Michigan. He was to stop Tutu Atwell today. He did have the touchdown pass in the first quarter, but he only has 24 yards receiving since that catch. Conley's going down. The sack there by Jerquavian Mahone.
A big sack, literally and figuratively. If you're Conley, you're sitting there going, hey man, you know, I haven't played out here very long. Look at him. Got those shoulders kind of hunched up a little bit. That's a big body splashing down on you. It's been a long afternoon. Certainly a very long second half for the Louisville Cardinals.
Season high 12th tackle for loss for Kentucky as Cardinals do burn a timeout. They want to try to leave with something positive to talk about these last 17 seconds. Florida State, another rivalry game in state coming up tonight at 7:30 Eastern here on SEC Network. Tom Hart, Jordan Rogers, Cole Kubelik there in the swamp to call it, between the Gators and the Noles. Noles looking for a new coach. Dan Mullen is looking for another 10-win season. And his team isn't complete yet. That's what's remarkable, what Coach Mullen is building down there in Gainesville.
Yeah, in short order, right? We talk about backup quarterbacks, what they were able to do. Stick Kyle Trask in there. They thought Felipe Franks was the answer. I think they were better when Kyle Trask was inserted into the lineup out of necessity due to injury to their starter.
Conley taking the option toss, goes inside the 40. See if Coach Satterfield is going to let that be it. May have time to run one more play. Last play of the Governor's Cup. Conley is sacked. He lost the football too as Davian Hawkins came around again, and Kentucky has the Governor's Cup, the football, and a 45-13 win.
How about that for a punctuation mark? We talk about the offense, the dominant run game. Lynn Bowden, 13 tackles for loss, including 6 sacks. Kentucky defense.